I don't believe that balance exists. I believe it's wholeness.
I'm whole to begin with, but I have work to do.
Wholeness to me is being able to be your own bridge to your heart, through your heart.
Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of attachment styles. We'll explore what attachment styles are, how they develop, and the profound impact they can have on our relationships and overall well-being, and provide you with compelling data and relatable examples to illustrate these concepts. If you haven't before heard of attachment styles, I hope you'll stay tuned. It's fascinating. I want to take a moment to understand what attachment styles actually are, so we'll get into that. In simple terms, attachment styles refer to the patterns of how we form emotional bonds and connections with others. These patterns are established during our early childhood experiences and continue to shape our relationships throughout our lives. There are 4 primary attachment styles: secure, anxious preoccupied, dismissive avoidant, and fearful avoidant. So let's take a look at each one. And to begin, they often go by different names. And like I say, vocabulary is often the thing that stands in the way of understanding. So that may happen here. I am going to use the terms secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. So let's talk about a secure attachment style. Individuals with a secure attachment style have a healthy balance between intimacy and independence. They feel secure in their relationships. They trust their partners and they trust themselves. And they have a positive self-image. Securely attached individuals typically exhibit effective communication, emotional openness, and enjoy long-lasting, satisfying relationships. So you can probably tell this is where we would like to be. This is the one we hope to have, and half of people have this attachment style. Then there's an anxious attachment style, and those of us with an anxious attachment style crave intimacy and fear rejection. We might seek constant reassurance from partners, and we might tend to worry about our partner's commitment and love. Anxious attachment style may exhibit clingy behavior. They may feel chronically insecure and often experience heightened emotional turmoil in relationships. Individuals with an avoidant attachment style prioritize independence and self-reliance. We tend to downplay the importance of close relationships and may avoid emotional intimacy. We suppress emotions, have difficulty expressing vulnerability, and often keep others at arm's length. Forming and maintaining deep connections can be challenging for an avoidant type. And it's really difficult because often avoidant attachment style individuals really take pride in that ability to be independent or to be self-sufficient, they might say. So, but we'll talk about later how that becomes kind of a problem. And in another episode where we talk about the stages of psychosocial development, you'll see how that's really a problem, how that really shows up, and it causes problems throughout our life, and especially later on in adulthood. And then lastly, there's disorganized, or some call fearful avoidant attachment style. It combines the traits of both anxious and avoidant. So individuals with this style desire closeness, but they fear rejection and betrayal. So we may exhibit a push-pull dynamic in relationships. We may struggle between the desire for intimacy and the fear of being hurt. This ambivalence often leads to difficulty forming and maintaining stable connections. So there's this, I like you, I want you, but then when somebody gets too close, it feels dangerous in their body. It just does. It's a nervous system reaction. The book Attached by Amir Levine and Rochelle Heller offers valuable perspective on attachment styles and their impact on relationships. And it states, understanding your attachment style and that of your partner is one of the most important things you can do to help move towards a secure and lasting relationship. The basic patterns of attachment can help you understand your needs and expectations in a relationship. how you relate to others, and how they relate to you. I know in my relationship, it was pivotal to understand that because I'm coming from one direction and he was coming from another, and we both expected the other person to kind of know our point of view, right? But when we could see ourselves in that attachment style, first of all, it opened up a door to a whole bunch of learning that we needed to do. But within our relationship, it helped us make sense of some of the things that had come up. Our attachment style is heavily influenced by our early childhood experiences. During infancy and early childhood, our interactions with caregivers shape the way we perceive relationships and form emotional bonds. Gabor Mate, a renowned physician and expert in trauma and addiction, has spoken extensively about his own early childhood experiences and the profound impact they had on his life. He was born to Jewish parents just weeks before Nazi Germany invaded his country. He had to be separated from his mother for a few weeks, and even though he doesn't have memories of this time period, his nervous system and body kept note and developed an avoidant attachment style perfectly suited to keep love at a safe distance so potential hurt could be avoided. Mate's work also suggests that addiction and ADHD, among others, develop in the same way as a response to childhood wounding. You can see how it's such a genius response to create an attachment style so that we can keep ourselves safe. Even at that young age that Gabor Mate was, just months old, there was pain there, and here was a fix. I don't get too close, therefore I don't have too much pain. Sadly, that's not often how it works. Uncovering your attachment style could be the first step toward understanding the pains our younger selves faced. We more often than not default to pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps rather than leaning into healing. But what we know is that childhood experiences contribute to the development of our attachment style, which can have a lasting impact on our relationships and overall well-being. It's not a matter of, now I know my attachment style, I'm just going to force myself to be different. It doesn't work that way. If we have a secure attachment style, it often suggests that we had consistent and responsive caregiving during our early years. Our caregivers were attuned to our needs, provided us with a secure base, and responded to our distress promptly enough, and consistently enough. This secure attachment style reflects a sense of safety, trust, and a positive view of ourselves and others. And I think it goes to say, remember that word enough is important, because what's good for one child is different for another. Individuals with an anxious attachment style may have experienced inconsistent or unpredictable caregiving. They might have received intermittent responses to their needs, leading to a sense of insecurity and anxiety in relationships. These individuals may have developed a heightened sensitivity to signs of rejection or abandonment, leading them to seek constant reassurance and validation. I think of a young baby who might be hungry or wet for whatever reason. I can just feel their longing, right? And that longing doesn't go away, and they bring it with them into adulthood and into adult relationships. It's a hole that they want their partner to feel, but their partner cannot. Bridget Jones, portrayed by Renee Zellweger in the film Bridget Jones's Diary, is depicted as a single woman in her 30s who is desperately seeking love and validation. Throughout the movie, she exhibits behaviors and thought patterns that align with anxious attachment style. Bridget consistently worries about her appearance, weight, and relationship status, leading to feelings of insecurity and self-doubt. She seeks validation from others, particularly from the men she pursues romantically. Bridget often becomes preoccupied with the opinions and actions of her love interests, obsessively analyzing their behaviors and interpreting them as signs of rejection or disinterest. Throughout the film, her attachment style influences choices leading to humorous and sometimes awkward situations. Her tendencies contribute to a roller coaster of emotions and a quest, again, for external validation, which impacts her journey towards self-acceptance and finding actual true love. Bridget Jones serves as a relatable character, representing the struggles and insecurities faced by individuals with an anxious, preoccupied attachment style. Her experiences highlight the challenges of navigating relationships when driven by a constant need for reassurance and validation. And sadly, I think that's common for the females to have this kind of need for reassurance. And we see that in Bridget Jones's diary. Those with an avoidant attachment style may have experienced caregivers who were emotionally distant or unavailable. They might have learned to suppress their emotional needs and become self-reliant. As a result, they may have difficulty depending on others or expressing vulnerability in relationships. When needs, desires, and wants are unmet, one way to avoid the pain is to decide to not have needs, desires, and wants. Go back to episode 80, The Art of Nurturing, to understand more about the role of needs, desires, and wants. We have them, and they are important to our well-being. A lot of men have this style because they are more likely to be encouraged to suppress their emotions and be self-reliant. As a young child, we offer hugs to a crying girl and "you're okay, dude" to a crying baby. I want to note, too, that with these styles and with this not enough, sometimes that can come because of things that are outside our control or that are not so much a fault of any kind. Sometimes economic reasons make it so that caregivers can't be there all the time, or illness, or things like that. So it's just important to own our experience and not have to make it about who's to blame. That could happen at a different time. We've got to figure out where we're at, and then we can unravel all of that parts of it. But as far as the avoidant attachment style, think of Elsa in the animated film Frozen. Elsa is depicted as a complex and emotionally guarded character with a dismissive, avoidant attachment style. From a young age, Elsa has been taught to suppress and hide her emotions due to the fear of her ice powers causing them to harm others. As a result, she grows up feeling isolated and disconnected from those around her. Throughout the film, Elsa demonstrates a strong inclination towards independence and self-reliance. She avoids forming deep emotional connections, even with her own sister, and keeps her true emotions hidden. Elsa fears that her power and the potential consequences will push others away, leading her to build walls and distance herself from emotional intimacy. Elsa's dismissive avoidant attachment style is epitomized in the song Let It Go. So popular, and yet, in this context, painful. So in this song, she embraces her powers and chooses to live in isolation, free from expectations, emotional entanglement of others. But this act further highlights her inclination towards detachment as a coping mechanism. And she feels empowered by it. That's what happens kind of with avoidance, is they, again, feel like it's just the greatest thing in the world to be avoidant or to be independent. However, as the story unfolds, Elsa learns the importance of vulnerability and connection. Through her journey, she begins to break down her defensive barriers and develops a deeper understanding of love and acceptance. Individuals with a disorganized attachment style often have experienced inconsistent or even abusive caregiving. They may have faced a mix of positive and negative interactions, leading to confusion and ambivalence about relationships. These individuals may desire close connections, but also fear being hurt or rejected, resulting in a push-pull dynamic in their relationship. Think of that young child whose caregivers were either in a good mood or a bad mood, and you never knew which one you were going to get. It could be like a never-ending jump scare feeling in the body, and that is actually how it can feel. We call this hypervigilant. But I also just want to highlight this ambivalent part that shows up here. So an ambivalent feeling toward relationship can also look like I'm just supposed to grow up and get married and have kids. I'm just doing that. I don't really care one way or the other. There's not deep emotions there. I'm just ambivalent. Yeah, it's good, and it's just what you do. So that's another kind of way of having a disorganized attachment style. If you have ever seen the film Misery, then you have a glimpse into this experience of growing up with a disorganized caretaker. In the film directed by Ron Reiner, Annie Wilkes is depicted as a deeply troubled and unpredictable character who develops an intense and obsessive attachment to the main character, Paul Sheldon, played amazingly by James Caan. Her fearful avoidant attachment style, or disorganized attachment style, becomes increasingly apparent as the story unfolds. And I'd say we end up developing that disorganized attachment style because of her. As we watch the movie, you get that jump scare feeling. You never know what's going to happen. We're confused. Because Annie initially presents herself as nurturing and caring toward Paul after rescuing him from a car accident. However, as their relationship progresses, Annie's fear of abandonment and rejection begins to surface. She becomes possessive and exhibits violent behavior, swinging from expressions of love to moments of intense anger or violence. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Annie's disorganized attachment style is evident in her intense longing for connection and simultaneously fear of being hurt or betrayed. She struggles with trust and often oscillates between clinging to Paul and pushing him away out of fear. This dynamic leads to a highly tumultuous and emotionally charged relationship. Throughout the film, Annie's disorganized style drives her to extreme measures to keep Paul close and under her control, demonstrating the intense internal conflict characteristic of this attachment style. Her actions are motivated by a desperate attempt to avoid abandonment and the pain associated with rejection. The result of Paul in the movie and us in the audience is nothing short of horror. It's important to note that our attachment style can be influenced by subsequent experiences and relationships throughout our lives. At the end of Misery, we are shown the after effects of relational trauma when Paul hallucinates her later on. We know that he is forever changed by this traumatic event. However, early attachment experiences lay the foundation for how we perceive relationships and can significantly shape our attachment style. Understanding our attachment style provides valuable insights into the impact of our childhood experiences on our relationship patterns. It allows us to gain awareness of any potential challenges or strengths that may arise in our current relationships. With this awareness, we can actively work toward healing past wounds, developing healthier relationship dynamics, and forming more secure attachments in our adult lives. Dr. Stan Tatkin, I hope I say that right, a leading expert in the field, offers this insight. He says, we can't change our attachment style, but we can develop an awareness to recognize it and make choices that lead us to healthier relationships. And I would say, I don't know if I would disagree with him, but I think when we use the modalities of energy medicine with mindfulness, with self-care and self-compassion, if we can get that nervous system to not flip on the way that was designed to me, that is changing it, that is healing it, that is moving into a more secure attachment style, because it is that charge of the nervous system that pushes us into those anxious or avoidant patterns. So I think if we can work with those, I don't know, maybe it changes, maybe we just learn something different. It depends on how you want to look at it. Understanding attachment styles equips us with valuable insights into our relationship patterns and empowers us to build stronger and more fulfilling connections with others. Of course, we all want a secure attachment style, and we can move toward it, like I say. Moving toward a more secure attachment style is a gradual and ongoing process that involves self-reflection, self-awareness, and intentional effort to change old patterns. So here are some steps that can help in fostering a move toward a more secure attachment style. And again, I will always suggest you work with a good coach or therapist and not just do things on your own. I think sometimes we're just so inside ourselves, we just tend to bootstrap. We tend to just hunker down and force it, which if we go through a process, it becomes natural to make a change versus just forcing a change. Sometimes when we force things, I'm convinced that something else pops up, that pressure gets pushed down and has to come out somewhere else. So think about that as we talk about these steps we can take toward a more secure attachment style. The first step is to develop self-awareness. Take time to reflect on your own attachment style and how it influences your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in relationships. Understanding the root cause of your attachment style can provide insights into areas that need healing and/or growth. There is healing for you, and it isn't just getting over it. Like I said before, getting over it is a coping strategy, and more often than not, we use unhealthy coping mechanisms to maintain those strategies. Another thing we can do to step towards secure attachment is to explore past experiences. So many of us just think because it's past, because time has passed, that it no longer exists, but that is not true. Examine your early childhood experiences and any significant relationship dynamics that may have contributed to the development of your attachment style. This exploration can help identify unresolved wounds or traumas that need attention and healing. Another step is, of course, we have to say it, seek counseling or therapy. Engaging in therapy or healing with a qualified professional provides a safe space to explore and process emotions. It helps us gain insights into attachment patterns and develop healthier relationship skills. Healing isn't just about helpful tools, so a good coach or therapist is important. Another step we can take is to practice self-compassion. Cultivate self-compassion and self-acceptance as you navigate your attachment journey. Understand that attachment styles are not fixed or inherently wrong, but are shaped by our experiences. We weren't born with that attachment style, but they were shaped. Treat yourself with kindness and patience throughout the process of change. Also, it helps to challenge negative beliefs, and we can identify and challenge any negative beliefs or assumptions you may hold about yourself, about relationships, or intimacy. Find your unique way to replace negative inner critic chatter with more positive and realistic thoughts that promote healthy attachment and connection. Negative inner chatter is never correct. I don't care who you are. And sometimes we misinterpret that negative inner chatter as, a coach or something that's supposed to help us make changes. There's something in me that just feels uneasy about that. I think there is a motivational aha moments are much more long-term sustaining ways of champion our efforts. Another step toward a secure attachment is to develop secure relationships. So surround yourself with supportive and trustworthy individuals who can provide a secure base for you. Cultivate relationships that allow for emotional vulnerability, open communication, and mutual trust. And for some of you in the avoidant or the disorganized, that's going to feel a little uncomfortable, but maybe that's the clue that you're moving in the right direction. And uncomfortable can change over time. Uncomfortable becomes comfortable with practice or with repetition. Another way to move towards secure attachment is to practice effective communication. Learn and practice healthy communication skills, including active listening. Check out the video link I've put in the show notes that I made about active listening and communication skills. It's really helpful. We also need to learn to express needs and boundaries and being empathetic towards others. This is practicing effective communication. Clear and compassionate communication can foster secure attachments and build stronger connections. So, like I say, check out that link. Another step we can take is to develop self-soothing strategies. Cultivate self-soothing techniques and coping mechanisms to manage anxiety and emotional stress. Engaging in activities such as mindfulness, self-care, and self-reflection can help regulate emotions and promote a sense of security within yourself. Too often, one of the problems is because in relationship, we want that other person in the relationship to provide that security, and it can't, because that security was lost long ago. That security was disrupted long ago, and so we need to develop that part of us that feels secure. Another step we can take is to embrace vulnerability. Allow yourself to be vulnerable in relationships, gradually opening up and sharing your thoughts and feelings with trusted individuals. Recognize that vulnerability is essential for deepening connections and building a secure attachment. And like I say, it's going to feel difficult and wrong in the beginning, but maybe that's the sign we need to step forward and to step into it. And soon that discomfort shifts. And lastly, the last step that I'm going to offer to move towards a secure attachment style is to practice forgiveness and let go of past hurts. Work toward forgiving yourself and others for past relationship experiences that may have contributed to insecurities or attachment wounds. Letting go of resentments and embracing forgiveness can create space for growth and healthier relationships. As particularly, I think, with ourselves, we can be, well, I would say actually there's twofold. We either hold on to the guilt and shame ourselves more than we should, or we just put all the blame outside of us, and with that blame, which may be a part of the steps, like maybe we need to really come to terms with the experiences we had in young childhood. So there's an important step there to use blame, to blame the person or to give responsibility to the person that really needs to take it. That's an important step. But I think also sometimes if we take that blame, put it on the other person, and then say we can't do anything about it, or maybe we don't say it, but we just ignore or feel it or subconsciously act that way, that because it's someone else's fault, we don't have the power. That's what I'm talking about. That's the letting go that needs to happen. We need to be able to have the ability within ourselves to move forward and take steps toward that healthy connection and relationship. Remember, changing attachment styles or moving in a different direction from what we were given really as an attachment style takes time and effort. Be patient with yourself, celebrate progress, and seek support when needed. Moving toward a more secure attachment style can lead to more fulfilling and satisfying relationships, as well as a greater emotional well-being. Please take the time at the end of this episode to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're hearing this podcast. We invite you to the wholenessnetwork.com, where you'll find the Wholeness Library. Inside, you'll find tutorials, downloads, mini classes, and all sorts of streaming content for you on your wholeness journey.